Hi, my name's Simon. Together with my wife Kathy and our two Yorkshire Terriers, Coco and Wally, we continuously cruise the canals and rivers of the UK in our narrowboat. Today we are going from Knottingley through to Castleford. We may continue on further than that, but we'll see how the day goes. Currently overcast, as you can see, but the forecast is for sun. Time will tell. Enjoy. Okay, darling, push off. On the way we go. Right, let's get the show on the road. Roll up the back rope neatly, put it on the helm, and tweak the camera a little bit, and off we go. As I say, we're leaving Knottingley. We'll be going through a fairly twisty, narrow section of the canal, and then we come into Ferrybridge and go through a storm lock. No, not storm lock, flood lock, which is only closed if there is significant rain, because we're actually going down onto the River Aire for about a 2-hour trip along a river, which is quite long, meandering, very still and calm at this time of year. See what we see. The spot, the Amphitheatre, is actually a nice place to moor, because you just walk up to the top, there's a road, and about 300 metres, big shop, and after another 200 metres after that, another big shop. So it's a good spot to stop and resupply. So we've just done a couple of major shopping trips. It has to be spread over a couple of trips because quite heavy and bulky. Here comes that water bottle, the numbers. There you go, boy. Wrap them up a little bit. Although today it's very little wind. Very, very pleasant to cruise, especially if the sun comes out. It will be winner, winner, chicken dinner. Now we will have to keep an eye out behind us, because it's possible there's a commercial coming up from Goole. I have looked on the apps, ship tracking apps. Careful with that one. But their transponder's not activated, or their masts are laid flat, I'm not sure. Nice houses along here, nice canal frontage, especially if you're a fisherman. You can apply for a private mooring on your property, but I believe it's quite a process. You have it granted, and then you pay a fee to the Canal and River Trust for that privilege. So this bridge we're going under now, if you go left over it, literally almost the end of the bridge is the supermarket. So for those of us that are non-motorised and use granny trolleys, ideal. Absolute perfection. There are facilities and shops in Castleford, but that's about probably 2 kilometre, maybe 3 kilometre walk there, and then 3 k's back. So this is definitely where you do your heavyweight shopping. Dog food, human beverages, and the like. Carry on winding through here. There's another mill, flour mill, King's Mill. To working temperature, so come up to the cruising speed. Even though this video follows on directly from the previous one, it's actually through a gap because we had to retrace our routes back to Goole for some appointments and to sort out a few issues. It really wasn't worth recording it because it was just a repeat of what we'd already done. What I did manage to do in the interim was lay new carpets through the boat. This is a job that's been pending for a little while now. It's not easy to work on a boat when you're actually living on it as well, and there's really no space to move anything around, so it becomes a bit of a shuffleboard. So quite pleased with the way it came out. I think the original carpets, the carpets were in here were original. So the boat's 20 years old, so 20-year-old carpets. They did the job. It looks nice and fresh and different colour. This area is called Ferrybridge, so we're going to be coming up to a floodlock shortly, which is left open at this moment in time. And it's where we go off the canal section, which is from Ferrybridge all the way to Gould and go down onto the river. Castleford, we go through a cutting off the river because there's a weir. Go through a lock and go up through a lock into a basin and then out on the river again. Here's the lock. On the right hand side there are bollards where some of the big commercials used to moor up. I think the wharf is on the left hand side, but with the development of the flats and things, I think all of the bollards and stuff got taken out. And more along here quite nicely. The river is literally 50 meters on the other side of the ridge, along the side there on the right hand side. Up and over and you're on the river. As we're coming into the lock, you'll see on this lock, specifically on the left hand side, there is a traffic light system. Traffic lights, or as we call them in South Africa, robots. Now if it's orange, as this one is currently, it means we can operate it as travellers. So it's all done on the control boxes. It also indicates that it's open and available if it's a floodlock. If it's red, it means it's not in your favour. It may well be that somebody's coming from the other side, and that's when there's a operator in the tower. Green obviously means it's ready for you, you can go in, and orange and green normally means they're prepping it for you to get ready. Not used that much anymore because most of the control, if there's volunteer lockies, is done from the boxes on the bank that we use. So that's what they're there for. This is a visitor mooring on the left and the right. Well, on the right hand side is actually the lock landing. But we never tried it. A lot of rubbish dumped here by boaters. And just general malaise. So this lock's nice today because we just go screaming straight through it, flat out. Most locks on the network have houses where the lock keepers used to live. Even these more modern canals, the locks were manned to not that long ago. Well, time is relative, but this was the route where a lot of coal used to be transported from the other side of Knottingley, and you'll see as we go through the river, move your foot, boy, power stations on the left hand side, and I'll show those as we go through. They're no longer in operation as coal fired, converted to gas. This lock is also used to control the levels of the canal. This feeds water all the way down the canal to Goole, and also down New Junction and around to Thorn and Keepy. All those sections are fed from this side and other rivers, but this is the main one at this end. Actually nice for these canals because very, very rarely do they suffer from low water levels. Here we go, coming out onto the river. Carry on going in that direction down the river rather than coming out the lock. There is a lock landing just down there, but then round the corner is a weir, so you definitely have a problem. But we will continue in the right direction. Big road bridge, and then a very old traditional block built bridge. When we're travelling in this direction, we're actually going against the flow of the river. Not really perceptible, but it must have some effect on travelling speed. Let's say this is non-tidal river, so it's this time of year it's fairly calm. Bit of a breeze getting up. Still fairly cold, definitely not sweating. The real feel is 5 degrees, and it is 10:30 in the morning. So yeah.